Come on.
Mama used to.
I bring my own keyboard and mouse to work. This is the only keyboard and mouse that I have. Weekends off are Tuesday and Wednesday, which means every Tuesday and Wednesday I have to set my computer desk up. First world problems. Story time. Today's video is recorded on the Nexus 6P. Today's story will be how I came across that Nexus 6P and saved 50% of what the average cost for a brand new 6P costs. I'll start with the beginning. 2015, I signed up for the Project Fi, Google Project Fi. That can be another video, but I think by now a lot of people already know what Project Fi is. Signed up for it, was accepted, because at that time it was invite only, was accepted, and I needed a phone. So I wanted a bigger phone. And at the time, the biggest phone that was available was the Motorola Nexus 6. So I jumped on that, loved it. I still love the phone. If it wasn't for the fact that hardware died on me, I would probably still be using the Nexus 6. But I like the Nexus 6P. It's definitely won me over. The Nexus 6, I had no issues with it. I love the hardware stabilization. I love the front-facing speakers. I love the large screen. The screen. I am not one to normally use a case with my phones. I'm very careful for the most part with all of my phones. Rarely ever use them. Now I use one, and this story is the reason why. About a year and a half ago, I was on my way to work and I dropped the Nexus 6. Corner first. Not face first, corner first. So that caused a spider crack through the entire screen. And that was the end of that. So me being the tinkerer and the frugal body that I am, I ordered a screen. The screen cost me $155, which at that time for a phone like the Nexus 6, $155 or a replacement phone, it's kind of a no-brainer, especially if you know what you're doing. Fast forward a year in advance, the bezel that the screen mounts on, the glue from where I purchased it from, can't even remember the manufacturer, but it was a third party, eBay. If you've ever done it before, you know what I'm talking about. The glue that they used wasn't a very high quality glue. It started to lift up. Took a heat gun to it, bought new tape, redid it myself, and it was just not working out. So I ended up buying another screen. This time it was about 140. So they were steadily going down, but not Hey Google, set the entry lights to 100%.
You got it. Setting to lights brightness.
So it wasn't too crazy. Fast forward about 6 months after I installed that screen, Hey Google, set the entry lights to 100%.
Okay, setting to lights.
The screen started to not deteriorate, but the hardware started to die on me. It's like refurbished equipment. They're not meant to last. But I felt like this would last me at least another 6 months. So I had anticipated it to last me about a year. Basically, the issue with the screen was it was bad. I was like, I either need to replace the screen or I need to get a new phone. And given that already I've gone through 2 screens, I'm a firm believer that if over the course of a couple years, less than a couple years, if over the course of 3 years, you're putting more than 100% of the cost of the phone when you first got it, it's time to replace it. It's just more hassle than what it's worth. So I went on Let Go, which is an application that allows people to sell things, just like Craigslist, similar to Craigslist, except you have to have a Gmail account. The chat is within the application, so you don't need to exchange phone numbers or anything like that. It's pretty cool. So I found this gentleman who was selling his Nexus 6P for $20. I said, okay, let's see what's wrong with it. I opened up the description and it said turns on, turns off. No other description. So I took that as, okay, that could either be it turns on and turns off and then that means it's dead, or it turns on and turns off, this person wasn't very tech savvy and that was their way of explaining to people that it's in working order. So I texted the gentleman. He said, yeah, it turns on, it turns off, but then it turns back on to the Google logo and then turns off. I've had one of my phones do that before and I remember fixing it. So I said, you know what, it's worth it. Even if I can't fix it, it only cost me $20. It's better than buying a whole new screen or a whole new motherboard for something at 100 and something and then realizing that it's DOA and you'll have to return it, or who knows, if you get a shoddy company and you can't return it for some reason, and then you have to deal with the workaround of getting your money back. $20, I could deal with the loss. I drove down to Pennsylvania from New York. Yes, I did. Got the phone and it was doing exactly what he said. It was booting up to the Google logo, shutting off, and then turning back on. Nowadays, Google has the factory reset protection, where if for whatever reason something goes wrong with it and you need to factory reset it, you could factory reset it, but you're gonna need the user. Okay, Google, set the entry lights to 100%. What the hell, man? Could factory reset it, but if you factory reset it, you'll need the username and password of the Gmail account that it was last synchronized to, or that it was last set up with. I obviously didn't have, and I wasn't gonna ask for that. But the issue with this phone was it wouldn't even get that far. You couldn't factory reset it. You try to access the recovery mode, and it would still do the boot loop. So that means that you'll need to replace the motherboard. So I went on eBay again, looked for a motherboard, couldn't find one, looked everywhere, and then a couple days later I looked on eBay again and there was one motherboard that I found, or one logic board they're called, for the phone, for the Nexus 6P, and it was $180 and there was one left, so I bought it. Now the rest of this video, or this part now, is where you watch me install the motherboard.